Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. My name is Scott. May has come and gone, so it's time for another wrap-up of what I've read. Typically, I have done my next month's reading plans as part of the same video. This month, I think I'll separate them out, so we will focus on what I read in May, and then I'll do a secondary video. Be on the lookout for that for what I plan to read in June. So May was a pretty solid reading month. If you recall correctly, April was the best reading month I've had in a very long time. May was good. Nothing spectacular, but also not bad. So let's go through it. I read 9 books. So I guess fairly average, maybe a little bit better than average. I read 3,555 pages. That's an average of 395 pages per book. So pretty solid. So let's go through them. We'll do like we always do. We will go from least to most favorite, with the most favorite being the book of the month. We will talk about how I read it, whether it was immersively with both the audio and the text, or whether it was just text, or whether it was just audio. If there was an audio component, we will also talk about the narration and how I felt about the narrator. Yeah, so let's get into it. My least favorite book of the month was a disappointment. If you had a chance to watch the science fiction series that I am most looking forward to, right at the top of that list was the Texcalon series that starts with a memory called Empire. So I had planned to do a buddy read with my buddy RJ over at RJ Gibson. He made it a little bit into the book before he didn't finish it. He was reading better things. I did finish the book, and I wasn't enamored with it. Again, the first book is called Memory Called Empire. It's by Arcady Martine. Clearly, she is a very good writer. This book won a Hugo Award. It was nominated for a Nebula. It's very, very well thought of in the sci-fi community, and I didn't get along with it super well. I did give it 3 Stanley nods. It was good-ish. There was nothing particularly bad about it. Some of the things that gnawed on me, that your mileage may vary, the character naming was a big problem for me. So with one of the primary cultures that we follow, their naming convention for their citizens is that they take a number and a noun. So you got characters named things like 6 helicopter and 7 lamppost and these kind of things, and it was hard for me to separate who was who. And even when I did know who was who, I didn't like the naming convention at all. So that took me out of the story quite a bit. I thought I would really enjoy the politics, and I thought they were fine. I thought everything about the book was fine. Our main character, I liked her. But beyond that, I didn't really connect with anybody else in the story, and it didn't super work for me. But again, not bad. I don't think I'm going to continue on with the second part of that duology, A Desolation Called Peace. If you have read it by chance, please drop in the comments and tell me if it's worth my time to continue. But otherwise, I don't think I'm going to continue on with that, unfortunately. The narrator was Amy Landon, and I liked her a lot. She was very, very good. I thought she had some distinct voices for the different characters. It made me a little bit easier to follow who was who, which was nice. But yeah, just in general, the story didn't really work for me. Next up, we have Legends and Lattes. This is by Travis Baldree, both written and narrated by. This is the darling of BookTube right now. Everybody loves this book. People are talking about it being their book of the year so far. People are 5 stars this and 5 stars that, and it was good. I had fun with it. It was fine. I gave it 3 Stanley nods. I enjoyed it, but the lavishing of praise on this thing, you would have thought this was the second coming. And I liked it. It was good. It's a low stakes fantasy. I really did like the main character, Viv. She's an orc that's getting out of kind of the battle scene, and she gets this coffee shop, and it's kind of the story of as she gains friends and stuff around this coffee shop. It was fun, and not a lot of investment. I did it audio only. Baldry's narration was good. He also narrates the Cradle series, which I haven't listened to yet, but so he is an accomplished narrator, and you could tell he really put a lot into this. He's going to write more in this world, I guess, so I don't know if there'll be direct sequels or there'll be something of that nature, and I'll probably read them, but I liked it. That's about as high as I'm willing to go with the praise on that. I liked it. All right, next up, we've got Firestarter by Stephen King. So the idea here was that I wanted to read this prior to the new movie release. And I was going to buddy read it with my friend Baron over at Your Brain on Books, Baron, and he told me about halfway, and he's like, "I'm not vibing with this at all. I'm stopping." So that's 2 people now that I set up some buddy reads with that couldn't get through the books, and that's fine. I've bailed on other people, so it's not a big deal. I liked it. I initially gave it 4 Stanley nods, but I've knocked that down to 3. Solid story, early Stephen King. I really liked the supernatural and the paranormal aspects of it. It was a lot of fun. Certainly better than the movie that came out. But some of the things that I liked the most about it were Andy, Charlie's the main character. She's a young 7-ish-year-old girl that starts fires with her mind. Her dad, Andy, can do mind control of people, and I liked what he could do. That was really cool. At one point, they're being chased around by this outfit called The Shop. It's basically a CIA type of thing, but a fictional one, and he's like, "You're blind," and like they can't see, so like he tells them that they're blind, which is cool. So I like those aspects of it. I thought there were some pretty cool characters in there. I like Cap a lot. I did go back and watch the original movie, the one with Drew Barrymore as young Charlie, and that was okay. And then I watched the new one, and I liked the young girl they had playing Charlie, and that was about it. There wasn't much else you could say positive for the movie. It was not that good. So, overall, for the book itself, I liked it. There was a lot to take in. I enjoyed it. All right. The narrator was a gentleman named Dennis Boutsikaris. He was good. I don't know. Never heard of him. I've never heard anything else he's done, but I liked his narration for Firestarter. I did that one immersively, so I read it and I listened at the same time. So the next 3 we'll talk about, I'll kind of talk about them together. If you recall from last month, I've been reading through these Lost Fleet series by Jack Campbell. I did the first 6 books in that original series, and then I did the first book in the kind of sequel series, Beyond the Frontier. I did 3 more of those books in Beyond the Frontier, and generally positive. I liked number 2 was called Invincible, number 3 was called Guardian, and 4 was called Steadfast. I liked each of them a bit less than the previous one, so it's not trending in the right direction, but that's okay. The fourth one I thought I was really, really going to enjoy because they take it back to the Sol system and Old Earth, and they're visiting Stonehenge and doing all this kind of stuff, and this is obviously supposed to be hundreds of years in the future, and we are kind of their ancestors, as it were. So I thought I really liked that, but the story around it was pretty soft. Just a couple of the lieutenants needed to get saved. Basically, it wasn't it shouldn't have been 400 pages. Should have been a short story, but that's okay. So I gave the first two 4 Stanley Nods, that last one 3. There's one more book in that particular series. I may get to it soon. I may hold off for a bit. It's called Leviathan. But overall, I'm still really enjoying that particular world and that series, so that's a lot of fun. The narrator is Christian Rummel, and he's fantastic. He is one of my favorite narrators. He's really, really good. So I'm enjoying that. And then we move on to the stuff that I really enjoyed a lot. And one of them I literally just read yesterday. So it is a novella, but it's 48 pages. So in the title description, it says a long short story, which is probably more accurate. It's called Hellmouth. It's by Giles Christian. If you saw the series I want to get to for historical fiction video, you know that Giles Christian is one of the authors I really want to get to. He's done a Lancelot series, he's done a Viking series, some other stuff. So I thought this would be a good entry point to kind of get a sense of his writing, his prose, these kind of things. And it was 48 pages, so not a lot of investment. It was fantastic. Could easily have given it 5 Stanley Nods. I docked it because I wanted about 250 more pages at least. I could have kept rolling with that story for a long time. So it was very, very good. Kind of a medieval historical fiction / horror book. And it's based around an actual castle in Czechoslovakia, the old Czech Republic, whatever they're calling it now. And it's an interesting castle because it's not really strategically useful in any way, and everything is like inward focused. So it's supposed to be haunted, and the idea is it's a castle to keep things in versus keeping things out, which I think is super cool. And so the story focused around that, had kind of a ghost story involved and some other things. Really cool stuff. The battle scenes were great. The violence was top notch. I had a great time, and it was short, so I'd highly recommend it. Giles Christian's writing is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to read more of his stuff. It's really, really good. And his personal narrator, I think this guy does a lot of his stuff, is Philip Stevens, and Philip Stevens is great. I really enjoyed the narration. That one I did immersively. I happened to have a free copy of the text through Kindle Unlimited, and I had the audiobook at some point. I must have picked it up cheap, so I did that immersively, which was nice. And then you can really flip a coin between my 2 favorite books of May. I've decided, because I've had Dark Tower as my book of the month a couple of times already, I'm going to go ahead and grant it to the other book. But next up in line here is Wolves of the Kala. That's Dark Tower book 5. Fantastic stuff. I really enjoyed every bit of this. It took me a little longer to read it than most Dark Tower entries have. I don't know if that's just because I was busy doing other things or what it was, but I wrapped that up the other day. Easy 5 Stanley Nod book. Jake and a lot of his storyline I really, really loved. He's a 13-year-old boy in the story, and him kind of coming into manhood and this kind of stuff was just the coming of age aspects of it were really, really great. Roland continues to be one of the best and most complex characters in fiction. Just having an amazing time. Highly recommend everybody at least tries it who's into speculative fiction of any kind, whether that is fantasy, sci-fi, or horror. You've never read anything like this, I promise. I've read as much or more fantasy than most people, and I've never read anything like this. So really, really good. Highly recommend. Obviously, Stephen King is the author. The narrator is George Goodall, who took over for Frank Muller. Unfortunately, had a very bad motorcycle accident and ultimately lost his life, so he couldn't do the rest of Dark Tower. George Goodall is quite good, but not to the level that Muller was. And obviously, again, I did that immersively. And then my pick for book of the month, and this was a surprise to me. I thought I would like it. I didn't think I would love it. And that's Cormac McCarthy's The Road. This is a very depressing book. And post-apocalyptic. This book won the Pulitzer Award and deserved it. I've seen the movie. It was a long time ago, the one with Viggo Mortensen, a long time ago, and I don't remember the movie all that much. I should rewatch it, but I remember liking it a lot. It's about basically father and son, although it's not really clear if they really are related or not. I don't really think that they are. And they're kind of making their way through this post-apocalyptic wasteland that used to be our world. Just the sacrifices made, the just immense amount of change that's taken place in this world, all that kind of stuff was way cool. I had an amazing time, and it really hits you in the feels at the end there. If you know, you know. So, yeah, highest of recommends. I didn't know if I would like it because I read Blood Meridian by Mccarthy last year, and everybody talks about that book being a masterpiece, and I'm sure that it is, and I'm just not smart enough to understand why other people like it, I think is what it boils down to. I didn't enjoy that at all. So, enough to make me read more of his books. So that's a good thing. People say he's maybe the best writer that the U.S. has ever produced. So we'll keep going. I'll try more stuff from him. I did this audio only. It was by Tom Stetschulte, who's awesome. I listened to him last year doing the Swan Song by Robert McCammon, and I had a great time with that narration as well. He's a really accomplished voice actor, very, very good. Really brought life to the characters, highest of recommends. So that was my month. I hope you guys had an awesome month as well. I'd love to hear in the comments what you read, what else you think I should be reading soon. But until next time, thanks for tuning in and have a great night.